I'm Miss Amy.
And I'm Miss Cathy.
And so we're going to start talking about what we're reading. And Miss Cathy is first.
All right. The first book is Linda Sue Park's newest book. It's called Prairie Lotus. And after the death of her mother and 3 years traveling in covered wagon from California, Hannah and her father have settled in the Dakota Territory with the hopes of opening a dress goods shop. That's not a dress shop, but a shop that sells everything that you would use to make a dress, fabric and buttons and lace, etc. But Hannah, who learned dressmaking skills from her mother before her mother died, hopes to convince her father to actually make it a dress shop where she can be the dressmaker and design and make dresses for the people in town. But Hannah also hopes to have a chance to keep a promise she made her mother to go to school and get her diploma. 3 years traveling in a covered wagon, she obviously didn't have a chance to go to school during that time. So she wants to do that. She starts school and things don't go well. After lunch, a whole bunch of kids don't come back. The next day, almost nobody comes back. And why does nobody come to school after Hannah starts school? Because Hannah is half Chinese. Her mother, who passed away, was Chinese, and her father is white. And in the 1880s, which is when this story is set, there was a lot of prejudice and racism against people who were not white. The prejudice also impacts the future of the dress shop. People start to say, well, they're not going to come to the dress shop, even though it hasn't opened yet. So what will Hannah and her father do? Will they have to move on yet again? Will they be able to resolve the situation and make a go of it in town? Find out by reading Prairie Lotus by Linda Sue Park. At the end of the story, the author also includes an author's note, which I found very interesting. So make sure if you read the book, you read the author's note, which explains why she wanted to write this story. Because as a child, she really liked Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House on the Prairie books. And so this is kind of her response to the Little House books. Um, and if you like Linda Sue Park and you like the way she writes, you might also try A Single Shard, which won the Newbery, and A Long Walk to Water, which is set in Africa and based on a true story.
All those sound really cool.
They are really cool.
I'm probably gonna end up reading them, just like probably all the books you're gonna mention. I love it.
We like when you like our picks, Emily.
All right. The next book is Front Desk by Kelly Yang. And book is considered its own voices because Kelly Yang is Chinese, just like Mia in her story is. The kind of interesting thing about this is it is also about, like Prairie Lotus, about a Chinese American girl and her family who are coming to America and who are experiencing racism. But this book was set in 1990. So not as long ago as Prairie Lotus, but still considered historical fiction because it happened at a time in China's history in particular where people were immigrating because things were not good in China. They were coming to America at a time just when things were starting to change in China. And they were experiencing racism here, but then also some issues with having left their home where suddenly things were getting better. So this story is something that I wish I had read the author's note at the back of the book before, because after reading the author's note, I realized many of the stories she tells in this, which I thought seemed kind of hard to believe would have happened to such a young girl, that she would be working at 8 here in America and imagining some of her hard life. They're actually true stories that happened to the author, to Kelly Yang, and to her family. So I wish I had read it in the beginning. I think I would have understood maybe this story a little bit better. But Mia is a 5th grader who came to California with her family from China and left everything behind in hopes of finding this better life. For a while, she and her parents live in her car or in their car, but then they get a job running the small hotel that Mr. Yao owns. Mr. Yao is a mean and prejudiced man And so he really takes advantage of Mia's family and all the people who kind of live in his hotel. Um, but fifth grader Mia has the same job that the author Kelly had. She runs the front desk of this small motel. She watches over the weeklies, who are the guests that live there kind of all year round. And she's also really kind and welcoming to all the guests that come for the night. There are a lot of hard things happening in Mia's life. She's bullied at school. Some people in the community around the motel are mean and prejudiced to her and her family. And to her and to some of the other guests at the hotel who are Black. And Mia even has a hard time winning her mom's approval because she thinks that Mia's love of writing is a waste of time and that Mia should spend more time on math. But Mia's positive and optimistic through it all. She meets a new friend, Lupe, who she can be herself around, not worried that she doesn't have the newest clothes or money for any of the extra things her other classmates do. And even though they are poor, Mia's parents also help other immigrants who are struggling in the community, but they have to be careful to hide them from Mr. Yao because he does not want anything kind to be happening. While Mia struggles to fit in at school and to gain respect of her teachers, it might just be her skill with writing that ends up turning her family's fortunes around. She enters a contest to win their own little motel. And so, will they have to leave the Cala Vista Motel, or will she win the contest and get their own motel? What will happen? This is on the Cauda list for young readers, and there's a sequel that just came out called Three Keys, and it's a really great story about a really strong little girl who wants to help everybody. That's front desk.
That actually sounds a lot like this one book which I listened to. It was called. I can't quite capture the name, but I for some reason I remember the cover absolutely correct. It was Scrabble.
Okay.
It was no, that was okay. Okay, that wasn't the name. Sorry, I'm having a trouble.
That's okay. You'll think of it.
Okay,
And you
so
can...
there are two kids floating on two pieces of like bananagrams. Like
It's
bananagram
got
letters.
Scrabble tiles on the cover, right?
You go
Yes.
first by Aaron
Yes.
Estrada Kelly.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrabble though, you made that connection.
Yep. I knew which one she was talking about, but I
Yeah.
couldn't come up with the title.
That was good. I read that too.
Yeah. All right. The London Eye Mystery by Siobhan Dowd is an awesome mystery if you like mysteries. Ted and Kat's cousin Salim comes for a visit to London where they live, and they take him on a sightseeing tour around town, and they go to the London Eye, which is this ginormous Ferris wheel on the Thames River. And they've been on it before, so they don't want to go on it again. It's expensive and it's So he gets a ticket. They watch their cousin wind his way to the front of the line. They watch him get on the Ferris wheel car. They watch the car go all the way around. And when his car gets back to the bottom, Salim doesn't get off. Where did he go? What happened? Find out by reading The London Eye Mystery by Siobhan Dowd.
All right. This story is called Two Naomis, and then the sequel is called Naomi's Two. So it's kind of a little play on words there. But the two Naomis are both 10-year-olds who are living with parents who are divorced. They attend different schools, have their own best friends, and really don't know anything about each other. And the book is told in alternating chapters, with each girl getting a turn to tell her side of the story. Naomi Marie is happy with her life. She and her little sister Brianna spend lots of time with their dad, who lives a few blocks away, and they live otherwise with their mother at home. Naomi Marie loves being a big sister. She loves hanging out at the library and trying to create new clubs, and she spends as much time as she can with her best friend Shio, who, when she isn't busy playing soccer. Naomi Edith is not having quite as easy a time of it, since her mother just moved across the country from New York to California to take a job doing costumes for a movie. Naomi lives with her dad and enjoys their lazy day routines that include trips to their favorite bakery and hanging out with her best friend, and then Skyping with her mom. But everything is about to change when the two Naomi's parents start to date. The first shock comes on the day the girls are going to meet. The parents haven't told them that they are both named Naomi. They used to feel that their names were special, but now uh, Naomi Marie's little sister Brianna cries in confusion when she finds out there's two Naomis. Naomi Marie is mad because now she has to be called Naomi Marie instead of just Naomi, and her mom only ever says that when she's mad at her. And Naomi Edith is just upset by the whole thing. But as their parents spend more and more time together, they try to get the girls to know each other by signing them up for boating camp. It doesn't go like anyone expects, as the two Naomis try to understand their parents' changing relationships while getting to know one another too. There's some bumps and some fits and starts, but they're both really nice girls, and with the help of their two friends who encourage them and their parents who realize that maybe they need to spend a little bit more time telling them what's going on, we find out can they learn to work together, and it looks like they might be in one another's lives for a long time. Read the two Naomis to find out how things turn out.
I probably think that the last one is probably going to end up like that, like the two Naomi's book.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably going to end up where they're going to end up staying with each other, because if you look at the second book, it appears that they're taller and older and just so they're probably still friends. Yeah.
What do you think happens with their parents?
I think their parents get married.
We'll have to read it and find out.
We'll have to find out.
All right, Notorious is by Gordon Corman. And Keenan, his mom and his stepdad, who he lives with, work at international schools, which are schools in other countries around the world, France, Japan, Germany, wherever, where kids are taught in English. And most of the students who attend are the children of diplomats or foreign businessmen who really need to have school in English rather than school in the language of the country. And so since his parents work at the international school, he's lived all around the world, because they'll teach at a school for a year or two and then they decide to move on. So he's lived in Europe, in Africa, and in Asia. And it's in Asia where Keenan probably caught tuberculosis. And that is why he is now sitting in his dad's backyard on Center Point Island in Michigan in a lawn chair, doing nothing, bored because his video game just ran out of battery. And that's when Zarabeth, better known as Zeeby, comes barging into his yard with her dog, Barney 2, with her theory that Barney 1 was murdered. And everybody says, no, he was just an old dog. He was not murdered. But Zeeby is convinced, and she is a force to be reckoned with. She also has a wealth of knowledge about the history of Center Point Island's unique history. What is cool about this, it's a fictional island, so if you look on a map, you won't find it. It's a fictitious island that is smack dab on the border between the United States and Canada. So right down Main Street is the border between Canada and the US, which causes all kinds of confusion, right? Your post office is split in two, and there's different schools, and so it's a very unique place to live. Keenan is American, Zarabeth is Canadian, and it's also, she knows all this history of the island when during Prohibition in the 1920s, all the gangsters would come and hang out there and have their summer homes there and smuggle in all their stuff there. And there's a legend that Tommy Gun Ferguson, one of these gangsters from the 1920s, buried all his gold on the island. So as soon as Keenan meets Zeeby, he's not bored anymore. And they get on all kinds of adventures. And if you want to find out whether they find the gold, whether it's real or not real, you're going to have to read Notorious by Gordon Corman. And Gordon Corman has written a lot of funny books, one of which is No More Dead Dogs.
It's a good one. Emily, did you bring any books to share with us?
Curious.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, and also I was just curious. Why is there two dogs on the cover? If they're looking for treasure, not a dog.
Well, Barney 1 is the dog that died that Zarabeth is convinced was murdered, and her parents and everybody in town who hated Barney 1, they all say no, he was just old. He was 15 years old. It was time for him to go. He just died. And she doesn't like the new dog, so she just gave him the name Barney 2 because he'd never be as good as Barney 1. And
Kind of looks like a ghost of a dog behind.
yeah, that's Barney. Barney 1 was infamous on the island. He was always causing trouble. So Barney 1 is the big shadow dog that you see on the cover, and Barney 2 is the replacement dog, which she doesn't really want anything to do with.
But it's so cute.
It is cute. I agree. And you'll find out at the end of the story things work out.
So what did you bring to share with us today?
I brought two books. One is called Diary of an 8-Bit Warrior. It's a book on.
Can you hold it up so I can see? Oh,
yep,
got it.
It's a book on Minecraft. It's fictional, but it's also an unofficial, meaning that it's not part of the lore.
Okay.
Of Minecraft. And there's the main character is this villager named Runt, and their village is always being attacked by zombies and all these other mobs which are trying to kill them. So how they react is they say the top 5 students in their school, they have like a rating system. They get to become warriors. And for some reason I own the second, which is this one, and then the it's set in the same universe but has a different main character and talks about different stuff.
There's 8 of them in the series, aren't there?
I'm looking it up to see if we have it here at the library. Do you know?
There are a whole bunch in that series.
Yeah, there is a lot. And there's a new one which I just discovered actually exists. The final one. But this is one of my favorite books, and but Runt is forced to become partners with a girl which he thinks is annoying and a bit creepy. So and then there's these trees that are growing near the village. No one is telling him about the trees. So will he figure out what's up with the trees? I don't know. Well, I do know since I read the book like
But you don't want to spoil it for us.
Yeah. The other book is
I'm happy to say that we do own that book here, Emily, so thank you.
Hold it up so you can
The
see
other
it.
book which I have is the newest Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's called Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Deep End. It is the 15th book in the series.
Wow.
In this book, so if you have ever read the 14th, their house was just destroyed by the tub. Well, not tub. It's the what's it called?
What?
I want to call it hot tub. Sexist.
What?
Like whatever the hot spa tubs are.
Or the sauna?
Yeah, like a hot tub.
Yeah, like a hot
The
tub.
steamer?
No.
Okay. Hot tub. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably. Part of their house gets crushed, so they're forced to live in their grandmother's basement.
Oh, no.
And as usual, in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, everything goes wrong. They decide to go on a vacation because they've got tired of since his mom is a bit cheesy. She likes to make cardboard displays of vacations, and it's not quite doing it for any of them, even their mom by now. So they decide to go on a vacation. And first they try actual camping because their other grandmother calls and asks if they want the trailer. But then they decide that they don't want to go actual camping because everything goes wrong again. They can't cook anything. Eventually the sewer tank in the thing fills up.
Yikes.
Yeah. Then they decide to go to a place called Campers Eden, which is a campground which is supposed to be all amazing. The thing is that it's not so amazing. The pool is being used for other things than what it's supposed to be used for. Some kid is riding a bike down the slide. The lake is mucky. And everything is just going wrong. In the end, Greg, well, doesn't get the vacation which he wants. It's pretty easy to predict what's going to happen in these books. Everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. It seems like something fun. Actually, this is actually a scene from part of the book. He's under the water, plugging his nose, because a bunch of high schoolers that don't like him and are mad at him don't want, and so he's hiding. And yeah, those are my 2 books.
That sounds like the camping experiences we had as a kid. Everything always went wrong. It always rained. Eventually, my mom said, "We're not camping anymore." I can relate to that book. And I'm sure we have it because we have all of them. Have you read all of them, Emily?
Yep.
Excellent. All
And
right.
my mom needs to return the one we got from my friend, The Meltdown.
We'll return it. We borrowed one. I promise we'll return it.
Yeah. It's just, she's like, where is it?
I know. We'll find it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next book. This book, Lila and Hadley, another dog book. Hadley is angry, and it's pretty easy to see why. As this story unfolds, we learn a lot about the circumstances for her and her family, and a lot of things that were set in motion when the father was suddenly killed in an accident when Hadley was really young. Now, Hadley is in the car with her sister, who she hasn't seen in 5 years. And as they're driving to Kentucky from Hadley's home in Tennessee, Hadley is thinking about all that is going wrong with her life. And Hadley's mom has just been sent to prison for a year. And as if that isn't enough, Hadley is also coping with the fact that she has slowly been losing her sight and is now legally blind. Hadley's sister, Beth, left home when Hadley was 7. When they arrive in Kentucky, Beth says she needs to make a stop at the dog shelter, which is run by her girlfriend, Vanessa. Beth is a dog trainer, and she works with the dogs that are hard to adopt so that people will be able to take them home. Hadley comes inside with her because it's hot outside, and that is where we meet Lila. Lila is a sad dog that has been at the shelter for a while now. She doesn't respond to people, and even Beth, who's a great trainer, can't get Lila to work with her or to show interest in anything. That is until Lila meets Hadley. One of the first things Hadley tells us in the book is that she is not a dog person, but that doesn't matter. When she spies Lila looking sad, I think she can relate to her a little bit, so she reaches out and speaks softly to her. Lila takes a moment to think about it, then comes to the edge of her cage to sniff Hadley's outstretched hand, and they both let out a big sigh. Her sister is amazed because nobody has been able to work with Lila, so they take Lila home with them to see if maybe her time with Hadley will change things. There's a lot to cope with in this story for Beth and Hadley. Beth needs to adjust to suddenly having to care for her 12-year-old sister and to deal with her own guilt for leaving her home. And Hadley needs to learn how to deal with a new town, missing her old friends, making new friends, and taking agility training, where she's learning how to use a cane so that she can get around when she can't see anything at all. It really is a heartwarming story, kind of a little tearjerker moments. I love the details about how Hadley learns to deal with going blind, and how both the agility training and working with a cane and her time with Lila help with that. It's also a friendship story and a thing about overcoming obstacles and offering forgiveness. I think this is probably one of my favorite books that I've read this year.
Cool. It sounds like a really good book. As always, I'm probably gonna read it.
Yeah.
You're such a good audience, Emily. We hope you join us every time.
All
I
right.
will try.
City of Ember by Jean Duprat. The blackouts were becoming more and more frequent and lasting longer each time. It was just a matter of time before the generator that kept the lights on in the city of Ember stopped working for good. Then what? Darkness. Total and complete darkness. A darkness so complete you would not be able to see your hand in front of your face. A step in the wrong direction and you'd be lost forever in the unknown regions. 12-year-old Dune was sure he could find a solution if only he could get a chance to look at the giant hydroelectric generator that ran the city. So Dune hopes that on assignment day, the day that all 12-year-olds in the city finish school and get their work assignments, he hopes that his assignment will be electrician's helper, because that's the job that will surely get him close to the generator. But instead, he gets messenger. He's not thrilled with messenger. There's a classmate who got electrician's helper, but he won't trade. So he asks Lena Mayfleet if she'd trade with him. Lena got pipeworks laborer, and she didn't want pipeworks laborer at all. But Dune figured pipeworks laborer is as close to the generator as he gets. So Lena was more than willing to trade, and Dune gets a chance to get down underground where the generator is, and everybody's happy. And then Dune finally gets a chance to see the generator. He realizes there's no way he's going to be able to fix it. Now what? Can Dune come up with another solution? Can the city of Ember be saved before the generator is beyond repair and the lights go out for good? You're going to have to find out by reading City of Ember by Jean Duprat. Little bit of a spoiler, there are 3 sequels. So obviously they are able to do something.
All right. The next story is a new graphic novel called Animorphs, and it's actually based on an old series from 20 years ago. I think that this series will probably become pretty big too. There were 50 books, over 50 books in the other series, but this is book 1. It's a story set in present Earth Day, and it surrounds these 5 friends: Tobias, Cassie, Jake, Rachel, and Marco. They've just started on their way home from the mall when they decide to cut through a construction site so they won't be late. Suddenly, a bright light seems to be coming toward them, and so they're glued to the spot as they watch what materializes, some sort of a ship. A creature, is he a horse, a man, an alien, staggers out of the ship. He doesn't speak out loud, but the kids all hear his greeting in their minds as he projects his thoughts. He's an Andalite. He's been injured and he doesn't have much time. As he rushes to communicate the coming dangers to the kids, he offers them a choice, a chance to save Earth from the coming threat, the power to change themselves into animals, to become animorphs. As they decide to help, we see more lights in the sky, and he tells them to run. As they hide, other ships land, and they can hear the conversation between the Andalite and these new beings who've arrived. The danger becomes real, and the kids know they need to get out of there. They've taken him up on his offer to give them these powers. And the next day, the friends start to notice that people in their town are behaving strangely, even some of their own family members. Has the new force of Yerks already taken over? They will have to use their new power to animorph to discover what is really happening. But the power comes with a warning that if they don't obey, will leave them changed forever. Will they succeed in helping their planet, or was the Andalites' warning too late? This is an exciting science fiction adventure, but I don't think you have to be a science fiction fan to enjoy it. It's exciting and fast-paced, and the kids, I like the way they work with each other. And like I said, there are over 50 books in this series, so if people like this first one, I think there will be a lot more to come.
I was wondering, what is the warning? It's killing me now.
What is the warning? That these creatures, the Yerks, are going to take over Earth, and they do that by inserting themselves into people's brains. You learn that out pretty quickly, and so then they take over their bodies. So they might look like your friend, your brother, the police officer, your teacher on the outside, but really something else is controlling them. And they want to do that so they can take over the whole universe. And they think having all these bodies will give them a lot of power.
That doesn't seem like a very good thing. Thinking that we're essentially apex predators because we can kill practically any animal, but we still manage to get hurt by many things.
Yeah, it was an exciting book. If you like graphic novels, or just the exciting stories, I think you'd like it. Oh, and then this next one is mine as well. And this is an interesting story. This is probably the most mature, maybe on the list, but it is. I don't think too mature. There's no, language or anything in here. But it's about two brothers, Trey and Dante. Their mother is black and their father is white. And one of the brothers has lighter skin than the other. And this has caused some issues. It makes them realize how kids with blacker skin are treated differently than kids with lighter skin. Um, they're 12 years old and they've just moved to Massachusetts because their mother is a lawyer and is going to be working in Boston. And they're going to a new fancy prep school where the kind of king of the prep school, a guy named Alan, is a white and privileged bully who likes to tease Dante, the darker brother, by chanting black brother, black brother. And he makes it sound like it's just a really bad thing. So it's been really hard for Dante to fit in at Middlefield Prep. Um, so the story kind of starts with an incident that Dante gets blamed for that he didn't do, and he gets called into the office and he's trying to explain that he didn't do it, and he's getting frustrated, and the people in the office think he's acting out, and so instead of calling his parents, they call the police. This book it takes on issues of bullying of Black students, especially boys who are often seen as louder or more troublesome, and especially if their skin is dark. The adults in the book don't treat him fairly until he meets a really understanding man at a Boys and Girls Club. Now, Dante is not an athlete. His brother, the lighter brother, Trey, is the athlete in the family. But Dante realizes maybe the only way he'll be able to stop this bullying that Alan keeps doing is if he can beat Alan in his own game. Alan is the star fencer. Do you know what that is, Emily, fencing?
Nope.
So fencing is like sword fighting, and you do it for points, but you're not really stabbing people. They have little rubber tips on the end. Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but my grandmother did it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So Dante decides he's going to learn how to fence because he thinks if he can beat Alan at fencing, then that will sort of show Alan. He doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't want to, call him names, but he finds a gentleman, black man, who was one of the first black fencers, and he was actually in the Olympics. And so he asks him to train him, the man to train him. And so he starts working with him. This story is kind of part a school story, part a sports story, and a lot of conversation in there about racism and how people judge people unfairly just by the color of their skin. But it will have you kind of cheering. You'll learn a little bit about fencing. I learned some things about fencing. But you don't have to like fencing to, I think, like this book. You'll really, I think, like Dante. You want him to, you see him getting stronger, and he thinks of fencing kind of like chess. It's all a mind game, and you have to really outthink your opponent. It's not about being stronger or tougher, that a smaller person who is fencing can beat a bigger opponent. So you'll cheer him on and see him evolve into a wonderful son, teammate, friend, and maybe even a champion.
Ooh, I think this book sounds really cool. I can't wait to read it.
Oh, good. It's a good audio book too. I listened to some of it on audio, and you can get it on, I think I got it on Overdrive, and it's a good listen too.
And the last one on our list is called The Silver Arrow. It's by Lev Grossman. And Kate thinks she leads a boring life and she longs for adventure. So the night before her 11th birthday, she writes a letter asking for a birthday present, which she doesn't send because she doesn't have an address, to her rich Uncle Herbert, whom she's never met since her mother and Uncle Herbert don't get along. And surprisingly, the next day, Uncle Herbert does show up with the most fantastic present, a real steam engine. And Kate and her brother Tom are very excited to explore the train, but their mother, of course, insists that Herbert takes the train back. She doesn't want anything to do with the train. But before Herbert has a chance to take the train and leave, Kate and Tom hop aboard the train to investigate a light they see, and they discover the engine running. Soon it starts moving down a track that just magically appears, and they are suddenly on their way to adventure. And if you want to find out more about their adventure and where they go and what they do, you're going to have to read The Silver Arrow.
That sounds awesome. All these books so far have sounded so cool.
Well, that is actually the end of our list, Emily. Can you believe it? It's already been over half an hour. It went fast, didn't it? Oh, you're muted, hon.
What you just finished reading you really liked?
I
Van Gogh.
really like the book called Van Gogh Deception. It was something which I was supposed to like write something for, and I did. It's for like something in my class, but I really like the book. I will tell you about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the book is about a boy named Art who has amnesia. He's currently staying with his foster family, which is a woman named Mary and a girl that's about 2 years younger than him, whose name is Camille. Camille is really loud, and Camille is really loud, and Art is kind of shy. But
What's the story plot?
okay, so they go. So eventually, they take a trip to the museum. On the trip to the museum, when they leave, Art and Camille get kidnapped because Art was trying to figure something out about himself. He knows a disturbing amount about art. They get kidnapped and get put into a car. They manage to get out of the car, and Art eventually does. No, wait. 1 second.
That's okay. Take your time.
They do and as Camille and Art try to go around and escape everything, the start of the book, they find Art knows even more weird facts about Art. Art and Art.
I know that's funny. That's confusing.
And then, well, yeah, that's it. Because I don't want to spoil the ending.
That's good. No, that's good. I would love to read that book. I like mysteries. It sounds like it's a mystery. And I love art, and it makes me think of, with Van Gogh, but also Camille, which was Monet's wife's name, I believe.
Wait, there is one last thing.
Okay, tell us.
The guys that were chasing them are looking for something called the spider.
That doesn't sound like art. Interesting.
It's kind of like how some of the books, how some books have like almost like a multiple ending. Yeah, it's not like the ones that you can choose what to do. It's like it starts off with someone finding out something that's like the ending of that mystery, and then they end it the full on mystery.
So is there a sequel to this book, Emily? Was there a second one?
I do not believe there is.
Oh, okay.
There is another book that is called The Ambrose Deception. I have not read it yet. It is on the same list, but it's not written by the same author, so I suspect it is not.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw those, and I haven't read either of them yet, so maybe we'll save those for next time. Yeah. Well, we're so glad you joined us today, and thank you for sharing your books. And we have, I think, another one coming up in the spring, but until then, keep on reading. And if you ever need some suggestions or want to give us some suggestions, come and see us at the library.